Hi guys, and welcome back to another lesson in Algebra 1. Today's lesson is Unit 4, Lesson 1, and we're going to be finding slope. It is our part 1 of 2, so it's called Day 1. And so, how you know you're successful today is, you first know what slope is, and then what formula to use to find it. Now, you can calculate slope from 3 different situations. So, we need to know how to calculate slope from a pair of points or a data table or simply find it on a graph. So we'll be going over those today. I do want to point out this real fast. Be careful when you are subtracting negatives. This comes up a lot in calculating slope because coordinate points will often have negatives. And so remember, if you are doing this, like you're doing 7 minus and negative 3, when you subtract a negative, it's really the same thing as adding it. And you can even prove it to yourselves by putting this into your calculator and you'll see that you get 10. 7 minus a negative 3. All right, let's go ahead and let's start writing some notes. So first, our definition of slope, and you would have encountered this in math before now in pre-algebra, but slope is simply just the steepness of a line. And so it is the ratio of rise to run. Okay. Now, when I talk about rise over run, this is the ratio of rise to run. We're talking about a fraction here. So if we look at this, rise over run, this is a fraction. And so we can also think of it as a ratio. So when you have a line that's doing something like this, it's going up a certain amount and over a certain amount. And that ratio is slope. Okay. So the steeper the slope, like this versus this one is going to have a higher slope because it's more steep. Alrighty, let's go ahead and write down some more information about that. It is going to be constant for any 2 points on the same line. So when we go and we're looking at our graph, we can pick any 2 points and we should get the same slope if we have solved it correctly. Okay, we're going to write this as a fraction. You may have to reduce your fraction, just like you did, when you were learning how to do fractions first in school, so like if we had, say, 2/4, you would have to reduce this to 1/2. So you might have to do that. But, slope is often written as a fraction. All right. And so it's also known as rate of change. So you'll see that in problems a lot where they'll talk about the rate of change of, distance compared to time, like how far, how fast a car is driving, the distance is changing with time. The rate of change would be the slope. Okay, so you'll see that phrase quite often. All right, now going back to this whole idea of rise over run. Rise is the vertical change. Okay, so it's the change of the up-down part of your slope of your line. Okay, so this is going to be the differences in the y values. You can also see that portion over here. So like we've got the differences of the y values here. That's the same thing as rise. And then the run, the horizontal change, that is going to be the differences. Oops, I clicked something. Differences. Yep. There we go. Let's fix that. Differences of the x values of the 2 points of the line. Okay, so you can see that here, like the run That's the horizontal part. It's the differences in that. So these two equations are equivalent. You use them for different situations. And here again, like my sloth is advising, pay close attention to negatives because this will come up when we do calculations. Okay, let's go in and let's just kind of show you the types of slope. This part is probably a review because you would have encountered this in an earlier math class, but we're going over it again anyway. A positive slope is going to have a line that looks like this. Okay, it's going up in this direction. Okay, so it's going up to the right. That's going to be my positive side. Okay. A negative slope is going to look like this. So it's going to be going over to the left, the negative side. Okay, so positive and negative slope. Now 0 is just going to be a flat pancake. There is no rise part. The rise is 0. Undefined is this one. And we can show you on the calculator also why it's called undefined and how to remember like the differences between, this one and this one. Your calculator will actually tell you either 0 or undefined, which is the good news. Okay. Let's see. We're going to find the slope for this guy here. It says the points 2, 3, and 6, 11. Well, let's look at our equation up here. This is our equation. And so we're just going to practice writing this equation over and over and over again as we solve these. I'm going to go ahead and start writing it down. So my slope is my y2 minus my y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Yes, I rewrite this every time because why? Well, it's good practice. It helps to kind of get the things in your head, the equations in your head, and helps you be organized. So like when I solve problems, I solve them the same every time. I'm always writing out my formula. I'm always labeling everything completely. And I would strongly advise you to do that as well. Okay, so these 2 points, I'm just going to go ahead and label them. This is going to be this is my first point, right? Like that's just the first point we come to. So I'm going to call this x1. And I'm going to call this one y1. Why does it have a 1 on it? Because it's the first point I came to. That's it. That's all there is to it. This is also an x and a y, but this is the second point we come to. So I'm just going to call this x2 and y2. That's it. No mysterious anything about it. I'm just labeling it at 1s because it's the first point and 2s because it's the second point. So let's go ahead and fill this in. Okay. So this one is asking for let me get my highlighter. This is asking for my y2. My y2 is this guy here. Okay, so we got 11. And then we're going to do, that minus part, this right here, minus y1. So my y1 is this right here. Divided by x2 minus x1. So my x2, I'm just going to go grab this guy. So I got 6 minus, and then I'm not going to bother coloring my x1 because I've kind of different colors here. And also, I mean, you see the pattern that I'm going with. 6 minus, I've got 2 here, so I'm going to put in 2. All right, so what's my math here? 11 minus 3 is going to give me 8. 6 minus 2 is going to give me 4. 8 divided by 4 is going to give me 2. So my slope for this equation is 2. All right, let's go to the next one. I am going to label my points. I got x and y and x and y. This is simply the first one that I come to, so I labeled it x1 and y1. This is the second point I came to, so I'm calling it x2 and y2. That's the whole reason why I labeled it that way. Nothing mysterious. Okay, my equation, I'm going to write it over again. So I'm going to write, oops, it keeps switching over. Slope equals, and so I'm just writing this equation over again, this one up here. y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Okay, so my y2, I'm just going to go grab that real fast. I got my y2. It's this guy here. It's got a negative. I'm going to be careful and take that with it. Okay, so I got negative 11 minus, and then my y1. Okay, my y1's also got a negative. So I'm going to be real careful that I don't, that I don't do some sort of weird math here. So I'm going to do minus a negative 3. And I put that negative 3 in parentheses because I'm calling attention to myself that I'm subtracting a negative. That's why I put that parentheses around it. So I'm showing that there's two negatives there. It's a way to kind of, get your brain to pay attention to what you wrote down. All right, I'll just go get another color here. Let's see, we got x2. Okay, my x2 is this negative 6 minus my x1. Let's see. Yeah, we got problems. We'll just go grab us another little color here. I don't even know what color to grab. Guess we'll try that one. Okay, so my x1, no, I didn't even pick it, is minus 2. Okay, so negative 11 minus a negative 3, that's like saying negative 11 plus 3, so that's negative 8. And negative 6 minus a negative 2, that's like saying negative 6 plus 2, so that's negative 4. And so this is another way that we ended up with a slope of 2. The points were different, but it worked out to be a slope of 2 at the same time. All right, let's go ahead and look at the next one. So we've got x1, y1, x2, y2. I'm going to write my equation. Slope equals y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Okay, so my y2 is this 5 minus negative 2. I'm going to make sure I've got my negative in there, put a parentheses around that. x2 is this guy, it's this 3 minus my x1 is 3. Okay, 5 minus a negative 2. 5 minus a negative 2 is the same as 5 plus 2. That's 7. 3 divided by 3 gives me 0. Alrighty, let me just go ahead and show you something here. And I'm going to grab my calculator real fast. Okay, so I went and got my good friend Desmos. Desmos is an awesome online calculator. You probably know about it, but I'm just mentioning it in case you don't. So it's free and, anybody can use it. Well, we calculated this 7 over 0. That's what we had over here. I'm going to type this in and let me show you. When we take and we try to divide anything by 0, you get this here. You see it says undefined. Okay, so that is a way for you to remember, what is an undefined line. So this has an undefined slope. We can get that straight off our calculator. It means the line when we graph it looks like this. It's an up and down line. It has no, like this bottom part is telling me that there's no going over this way when we're counting or the other way. There's no run. It's just 0. So it's an up and down line. Okay. Now that's going to be a little bit different. I think I got an example here where we got a 0 slope. Let's just look at this. We're gonna find the slope of this data table and we'll see what happens. I can't remember which one has the 0 slope, so we'll just see. Okay, I'm gonna label this x1, y1. Okay, my x is in this column, my y is in this column. I labeled this 1s because it was the first point I came to. That's the whole reason. No mystery, no deep thinking. It's just the first one. So we're going to find our slope of A. Okay, that's going to be different than b. So I'm going to write my equation. I got y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So my y2 is this 4 minus my y1 is the 6. X2 is 0 minus -2. Okay, 4 minus 6 is going to give me -2. 0 minus -2 is going to be the same thing as adding 2, so that's a +2. So my slope for data table A is a -1. Okay, but they did ask us to do a second one. Okay, so we did this one here. I'm going to go ahead and switch colors so we can try to keep it straight when we're looking at it. I can even draw myself a line. Okay, so slope B, or slope for data table B. We can call this x1 and y1 because it's just the first point that I came to. No really deep reason. My x's are on this side, so I labeled x's on the left. My y's are on this side, so I labeled y's on the right. The first x was x1, the first y was y1. Okay, I'm going to do the same math, so slope is going to be y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Okay, so my y2 is 5 minus my y1, which is also 5. X2 is -1 minus my x1, which is -3. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that in parentheses. 5 minus 5 is going to give me 0. -1 minus a -3, that's going to be the same thing as -1 plus 3. So -1 plus 3 is going to give me 2. Okay, now I want you to notice something just real fast. This one up here, we had a 0 in the denominator. That is an undefined slope because we cannot divide by 0. This 0 is in the numerator. So it is completely different actually, but it's not going to be undefined like this one. Okay, let's put it in our calculator and let's just see what our calculator gives us. And the reason that I'm doing it this way is because your calculator can help you, it can help you keep it straight in your head. Because sometimes students are like, I don't remember what's undefined and I don't remember what's a slope of 0. Our calculator tells us, look, so 0 divided by 2, that gives us 0. Okay, so our calculator told us that. Whoops, I guess I should grab myself a writing utensil. So this is a slope of 0. Okay, this line is going to look like this. It's going to be a flat pancake line. Okay, completely different than this guy. This guy had an up and down. This guy had a horizontal. This guy had a 0 in the denominator. This one had a 0 in the numerator. All right, let's look at with a graph. Okay, I want you to see this right away. We've got an up and down line. Okay, well, let's count this and let's just see, what the deal is. So our equation, let me show you the other equation we can use. So we use this one. We use this slope y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Well, this one we can use counting spaces on our graph. Okay, we're going to look at our rise and our run. Let me show you what I mean. The rise is going to be the up-down part, and the run is going to be the right-left part. Okay, so if we look at this, we're going to write slope is rise over run. So for A, when I go my rise, it's going up 1, 2, 3. So I went up 3, But my run, it didn't go over here any, and it didn't go over here any. It didn't go left or right at all. So if it didn't go left or right at all, that is a 0. Okay. Now, you need to eventually probably have this memorized that this is an undefined line, but let's prove to ourselves that we can get this if we just put it in our calculator too. So if we grab our calculator and we're making sure we remember the difference between undefined and 0, if we go do 3 divided by 0, it gives us undefined. Okay. The up and down line has a slope that's undefined, and we can just get it straight from our calculator. All right. So let's look at the next one. So the next one, let's go ahead and we'll just pick this color. So we got B. Okay. We're starting here at this point, and we're going to come over here to this point. So I'm just going to kind of make myself a triangle so I can count easy. I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I went up 4 with that. So my rise was 4, and then my run is going over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it went over 8 spaces. This fraction will reduce 4 divided by 8. Going back to when you first learned how to do fractions and you learn to reduce them, we got to do the same thing here. So 1 divided by 2, same thing as 4 divided by 8. All right. You know what? Actually, let me show you something with your Desmos calculator. So if you put this in and you said 4 divided by 8, well, it's going to give you a fraction. It gives you 0.5, but check it. You have this really cool button here. It says convert to fraction. Look at this. Dude. So this is a way that you can reduce a fraction with your Desmos calculator. It's kind of a cool little trick here. Okay. And I know some of you are like, well, that's easy. I don't need to use a calculator. And that is true. But some people get super anxious about math. And so that's why I showed it to you guys. All right, let's look at C. Okay, so this one, we're going to make us a little triangle here. But I want to point out something. It is slanted over here to the left way. This is going to be a negative slope. So no matter what we do, we got to make sure that we are doing a negative. Okay, we're going to go up 1, 2. Okay, so that's up 2. I'm just going to go ahead and put a negative there because I know it's going to the left. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So negative 2/4 is going to simplify to negative 1/2. And there you go. Boom. And so that's it for the rest, or for the notes today. Hopefully that makes good sense to you, and I will see you in the next lesson, guys. Bye.